He is on here purposely dividing the fans. He told the cast, and Rachel Brosnahan came out, and I got that clip, and it's in the folder there, Phil, in an interview, and I think it was it the interview with Variety? I can't remember who it was, but saying James Gunn practically came out and said half the folks won't like this film, the other half will, and it's the bad half that won't like it. Now, when he made that reference, who do you think he was talking about?
He's talking about us.
Now, how do we expect James Gunn fans to behave themselves when he can't? It's not for everyone. Rachel Brosnahan says Superman isn't for everyone and will surely anger the same old people who don't support ideas of progress and empowerment. Why she's making it about that, I don't know. She warns that James Gunn warned them at the start of the project that they wouldn't have the support of half the audience, but told them that's not the better half. She adds that it's not for men or women with 60s style ideas. That's why Gunn fans like this idea. Now, I'm going to stop right there and say this. She says that it's not for men or women with 60s style ideas.
She's making it political. Why is she making it political?
I don't have 60s style ideas. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel was a modern take. What the hell is she talking about? Zack Snyder's Man of Steel was the most modern Man of Steel ever. It wasn't 60s.
I would argue that this is more in range with 60s style art, 60s style films, because it's inspired by the original Superman movie, right?
Exactly. So I don't know. It's Silver Age. Right. Yeah. It's Silver Age. So I don't know. This makes no sense to me. Why she's throwing that into it? It doesn't. It made absolutely no sense.
It seems like she's trying to make some kind of political commentary. That's the vibe.
And see that right there. If he's making this movie about his about that, I don't want to see it. I definitely don't want to see it now. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. She did not have to say that. Actors and actresses didn't used to do this back in the day. What did I say about the digital age, bro? It has made everybody way too fucking comfortable with saying shit whether or not it's true. But this is what I'm talking about right here. Half the audience, he comes out and says this, and it's not the better half. And you expect Snyder fans to just jump on board with Gunn's idea. Does anybody know what redemption is? Let me explain to what redemption is. Redemption is no matter what your crime and what you've done, you have done that walk. Everything from atonement to making right every wrong that you've made in everybody's lives, however you upended their lives, to the point where from that point forward, you continue on that path. Redemption is like sobriety. When you stop drinking and you're sober, you are on sobriety forever. There is no such thing as you not being an alcoholic anymore. Your sobriety is forever. You continue to walk the same path. You continue to go to those meetings and say, "Yup, it's been 40 years. I haven't had a drink in 40 years, but guess what? I'm still going strong." That doesn't stop. Now, when back in his trauma days and back in his weirdo days, when he was doing all of this shit, never did he imagine that he would be in the position that he is right now, which is why he acts the way he acts. But now that he is, he hasn't gone on that walk of redemption, that walk of atonement. Yeah, he did apologize for the tweets. But when he apologized for the tweets, he went right back to doing the same shit. Right back to being online talking smack. Right back online dividing the fan base with his words. So in my eye, he hasn't redeemed himself. What he should have done was, after he apologized for all of the heinous stuff and we found out he was making Superman, he should have came out and said, "Thank you for the opportunity to make a Superman film. told in my image or whatever the case may be. That part of it is really not important. Zack Snyder told a film, an idea in his image. So that's not important. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you my rendition of Superman. I don't know if everybody's going to like it. I know I probably don't deserve this chance, but I do appreciate everybody in there hanging out with me. I really do hope you like this film. I think it's going to be a great film. I'm pulling from some great comics, and I hope it brings family, friends, and everybody else to the theater. Hell yeah, I'll give your shit a shot, bro. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. But did he do that? No. The very first thing he said was, this has got to be the wackiest hashtag or whatever the heck he said or something else. And shout out to Skywalker again and the Cool Table and everybody else. So the hashtag I'm talking about is selling Zack Snyder's Justice League to Netflix and all of that stuff. Y'all probably already know what it is. He came out and said he thought the idea was wacky. Now, he doesn't realize that when you talk about fans like that way, no matter what side of the fence you're on, you lose support. And ever since then, that is the train that he has been on. So how are we expected to give James Gunn a chance, let James Gunn cook, see what James Gunn has to offer, if he doesn't give a shit about the other half of the fandom that they abandoned? That's a no-go. So the half of us that won't be showing up to see this film, that's going to cost you in the long run. Your character, not the movie you make, not Peacemaker, not the Suicide Squad, none of your bodies of work are the reason why we're not going to see this movie. We're not going to see this movie because of your character. And how you feel about fellow artists, especially Zack Snyder. Taking pictures with him with this smug smile on your face, like we didn't know what you were doing. That is the character of a person that I don't want to be associated with. Taika Waititi is the same exact way. Got that smart ass mouth and that weird way of talking when he's online. Just weird shit. That is the reason why I'm not going to see James Gunn's film. Well, that's one of many reasons, but the main two reasons is because of his mouth. And the other reason is, if I was going to give it a chance, finish Zack Snyder stuff first, and then I'll go give your movie a chance. That's mainly what this is about. I don't really care, and listen very carefully to this part because this part is important. I don't really care who runs DC. Zack Snyder doesn't even have to run DC. I just want his films to be made. I just want his universe to be completed. I don't care who's running it. If it is not his story that's being told or being completed, I really don't care who's running it. No disrespect to Christopher Nolan. I love you, brother. But if you came back right now and told me that you were taking over the DCU, I probably still wouldn't do it. It's Zack's story. If James Cameron, who I love, who created my favorite franchise, the Terminator franchise, even though there was some stupid ones in there, I still love it. If he came down, Cameron came down and said, I'm going to take over DC and I'm going to create my own universe and I'm going to throw Darkseid in there and I'm going to do all this shit, still wouldn't do it because it's Zack's story. Tim Burton, Anton Fuqua, Ryan Coogler, I don't care who it is. This story, the way it is supposed to be told, belongs to Zack. So it does not matter who comes in and takes over DC. So trust and believe when I tell you this is not about James Gunn. It is in a sense for his behavior and all of that, but, and I'm not saying he did anything. I'm not saying that James Gunn did any of the heinous shit that his tweets portray. He just got a fucked up ass sense of humor. And that is the type of sense of humor that I don't like. I have a kid. I have a child. Rox has 2 boys. We don't play that shit. We don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's not normal. Even when you're joking, what he did was akin to a person going on an airplane and screaming that there's a bomb on the plane, even though he was just joking. Let me ask you a question, smart people. What do you think the FBI and Homeland Security would say if you got on an airplane and screamed bomb? I was just joking. Your ass going to jail. You're going to jail for 10 years just on principle, just because you wasted their fucking time and they got to fill out paperwork. I'm throwing your ass in jail for 10 years for saying it. Simple as that. That's how we feel about the pedo jokes. Like I said, I'm not saying he did it, but it was in poor taste. It was in bad character, and he still hasn't made up for it because he is still behaving the same exact way. I'm not talking about he's putting tweets out there. I'm talking about his way, his mannerism, how he acts towards the fans, his ego. That's why I'm not going to see this film. He is in his own way when it comes to the Superman film. He is alienated half the fan base on purpose because he is trying to prove that he's better than other filmmakers instead of just doing his own thing. Let that sink in before you jump down a Snyder fan's throat. Let that sink in before you come to our pages and our timelines and our chats talking shit. Let that sink in that you may approve of his behavior and the things that he says, but we do not. So respect that. And if some way down the line he becomes a different person and it shows through his body of work and in his attitude and the way he is with other human beings, cool. But until then, he still has an arc of redemption he needs to complete. And I'm not going to see his film. I'm not going to see anything James Gunn related until that is done. This isn't me hating on his universe. I want that to be very, very clear. This is not me hating on his universe. Me and my wife saw Peacemaker. Goofy as shit. But there were elements of that film that I'm not going to lie about that I loved. Of course, it was the serious parts. The part where he was reminiscing about him killing his brother. I thought that was phenomenal writing right there. The part where he could not kill that family, even though he knew that they were aliens, and he lost his shit. And then Vigilante just said, "Hey, dude, move over for a second." And he did the job. I thought that was brilliant. And then he cuts it away with some more fart and pee-pee jokes and antics and juvenile behavior, and he lost me. That is why that's what we don't want to see, ladies and gentlemen. Or at least that's a part of the universe that could still be there if WB were smart and they Elseworlds that shit, threw it over here. James Gunn, you go play over here. Zack Snyder, you go play over there. So-and-so, you go play over there. Black Label, Elseworlds, main continuity. Just broaden your horizons and you would have been fine. You would not be in the position that you are right now. Let's get competent men and competent women running this studio that not only love DC Comics, but also know the financial trappings that they could relish in once they figure out how to get this universe off the ground. And I'm through.